Live. All right, we're live. Welcome back to our live chat, evening live chat for, what date is this? Oh, it's the 29th of March. Been a while, been away for a little bit, for a week or so. Had some good times with families and stuff, and now we're back in the saddle. We have a lot of stuff to talk about with the weather. We also have, make sure I turned off my audio there. We also have a lot to talk about with the weather. Unfortunately, I have some model data that's down. Keep on trying to refresh it. Gotta love technology, but we'll use some other different model data. But mostly tonight it's about observations and talking about what we're seeing right now. But before we go into that, I want to talk about something. I don't like to talk about politics all that much, at least on here. Family get-togethers is different because I'm Italian and it's what we do. But this has me concerned that I wanted to bring this up to you. This is not a right-wing or left-wing thing. This is an American thing, and I wanted to touch on this, not to convince you one way or another, but this bill that we're looking at, you can go to congress.gov, you can Google it. It's called, let's see here, the Restrict Act, beautiful name, S.686. Look, you could be a Trump supporter, you could be a far left Democrat, you could be a moderate, you could be a feminist, non-feminist, it doesn't matter. Put your label aside. Just take it, put it aside for just a minute. This bill is a direct attack against not just what I do, but everything you do. From gaming to banking to talking to your mother and father on your app, on text messaging. And this isn't a Republican or Democrat thing. This is a privacy thing. And I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't so important, because they think we're not watching. This bill was sponsored, or i.e. brought to the Senate by a Democrat. But if you think this is just a Democrat thing, this has been co-sponsored by 21 different senators, from Republicans to Democrats, from the far left to the far right. They all have one thing in common, and that they all invest in Facebook. Who knew, right? Which is always fun. So they call this going after a TikTok bill. But understand, this is far more than that, okay? You may know I'm a libertarian, okay? And I'm a libertarian because I believe that in freedom, in believing what you want. I believe that you should marry who you want, live your life how you want, protect your house the way you want. If you want to buy guns, buy guns. If you don't want to buy guns, don't buy guns. If you want to go to church, not go to church, believe in a spaghetti monster, I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? What this does, and you can read the summary here. Again, you can go to congress.gov. You can contact your member here. It's really important. I've done this before myself. It's really important to get involved in this type of stuff. Because what this bill does, in a summary here, is, let's see here, text. Okay. It gives the power to the president to give someone unelected to have control to look into anything on the internet that could be a danger to national security, whatever that might be. That they could perceive that way, exactly. And here's the thing, all right? An entity is described as a firm, an agency, a labor union. a social organization, a partnership. So let's say your team, because everyone has their team, is in power and they don't like what someone is saying about their team. Well, that government entity that's unelected could go in and say, hey, we don't like what the union's saying about X, Y, and Z, our friends, so we're going to shut down your app. Oh, and you think it's just your app? Okay. Well, it's not just that.
What if you're running a small business?
If you're running a small business and you don't like the person who's in power, and well, they could attack you. Now you might say, how could they attack you? Well, first of all, they give power, unelected power, to the Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Homeland Security, everyone who's not elected. So they just give this random person this power, right? That has to that is selected by the president. Then they have the power, and let me go down to section 5 here. You want to read this, okay? Where they can find it, they can get involved, and they can have access to your wireless network, your mobile network. That's your cell phone, guys. Your satellite payload. Okay, you might think, well, what does that mean? All right, satellite operations, cable access point. Guys, you know the cable box? That's a cable access point. Anything within that cable access point.
They know what you watch.
They know what you watch. They know who you talk to, who you listen to, who you type to, who you write your emails to. All that they'll have access to. Your wireless access point. You type an email saying that you're upset with your congressman. Well, guess what? They know who you are now. Now, they're probably, I know what you might say, hey, they probably already have this access, but this codifies it in law. Okay? So, we're going to get to the weather in just a second, but I want you guys to understand this is a serious problem because it is giving people who you don't vote for power over some of the most fundamental things that we do now today. If you do any banking online, if you run a small business, if you send money to your aunt, it's her birthday, I'm going to send her $1,000. Guess what? The government knows about it now. And without a warrant. All right? They can, it's very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. And they're saying, well, we want to go after TikTok, or we want to go after because we think that there are so many ways to go after people who threaten children, stuff like that. There's a million different ways. Yes, you have to get a warrant, but you know what? That is how we protect our rights. But it can be done. Okay? There are ways to expose that without giving the government everything that is your livelihood, is your freedom to say, hey, I hate Trump. Hey, I love Trump. Hey, I love Bernie Sanders. I hate Bernie Sanders. Whatever it happens to be, whether you believe in AOC or you like some other guy, it doesn't matter.
We can all agree that we want to keep our rights to privacy.
Right. We can all agree that we want to keep our right to privacy, and also, yes, especially me, because, think about this way in this weather feed. You might be saying, Stephen, this is a weather feed. Why do I want to hear about this? Because if I have something to say about global warming or about the way that we're addressing it, that bill prevents me from saying it. And it prevents you from asking a question on here. Because if you type a question on here, right now, no one knows it. No one knows it. They can't access this website without a warrant. Okay? But with that bill, hey, we don't like what you asked about on this chat here. It's disturbing and it's troubling. And you guys know I don't normally talk about politics and whatnot. But yeah, they could do webcams. And see, here's the thing. They can access webcams, all this stuff with this bill without a warrant. And that's the key there. Yes, we have the technology to say whatever we want. And we have the technology, and yes, the government does technically would have the technology already to spy on you. But the difference is that while the government could spy on you, yeah, but the difference is that while the government could spy on you, right, they can't bring it in a court of law to throw you in jail for something. They need to have a warrant. They need to go through due process. So if I know a lot of you guys are not politically involved, I get it. My wife really isn't. I more am, you know. But this is something that really we can't keep quiet about, because this fundamentally goes after everything. And yes, while they're doing it already, as one person points out, the difference is this. You guys have to understand it. The difference is this. This is really important. They can do, what they're saying is that they can find you. They can find you.
They can come in through your home connection.
They can fine you $1 million and throw you in jail for 20 years if you say something that they deem as a security threat without a warrant, without due process. That's the difference. This isn't about, oh, YouTube's banning me because they don't like what I said. Guess so what? Go to another platform, okay? That's something that, you know, a private company has the right to do. This is far bigger than that. You guys got to look at the whole forest here. This is about going after your due process. So if you have a chance, Google this. Go to congress.gov, look up the bill, read it yourself, understand what they're saying, because this actually could throw people in jail for 20 years for saying things that the government might not like you saying, one way or another. And you might say to yourself, hey, you know, the people in power now, I like what they're saying. I always say to my friends who are either conservative or liberal, when you want to support a bill and you want to give the government power over your lives, don't look at it as, hey, my team, my favorite team's in power and they're going to do this. Consider what someone who you don't like having that type of power and what it can do for you, do to you. And then ask whether the government should have that power. That's all I'm saying about that. I hope, I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it is something that is a concern. Now, let's see if this is back yet. And it's not. Okay, that's fine. Now, more fun topic. Baseball season's coming up. My Mets are going to win the World Series. That's all I got to say. There we go. Okay. So we'll go with that. And then now we're going to get back to the weather because you guys are already asking a lot of good questions already. And I do apologize. You guys know I don't go off on politics. But man, oh man. I saw that. I was reading that. And I got to admit, I'm scared. You know? That scares me. When I read that stuff and I look at it, I'm like, holy crap, Zola. That's not good. So, let's talk about the current conditions right now. We're a little bit chilly out there, but not too bad. High pressure's in control, but a strong cold front is on the way. This cold front is packing some nice punch here. When you take a look at the observations, you have some snow back here. Yes, snow. I know. Everyone's ready for spring, but we still have to deal with these cold fronts coming through. And we do have some pretty strong cold air transport associated with this cold front. This is really packed in here. See how the winds and the isotherms are packed in like this? This is a sign of very strong cold air transport. So this is a pretty vigorous cold front. But when we take a look at the satellite picture, notice your strongest lifting is heading up towards the eastern Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River Valley. So while this cold front is approaching, it's moving into an area of convergence and confluence. You see how the winds are kind of coming together like this? And what that does is that it weakens the cold front as it approaches. And that cold front is going to be moving into an awful lot of dry air at 700 millibars. This is updated. Let's see if we can get a new update on this here. Let's get this. And yeah, the dry air is still there. Pretty vigorous, pretty impressive. So when this precipitation comes crashing down into the Delaware River Valley off the Appalachian Mountains, what's going to happen is that this precipitation is going to weaken. Now, if you're in the Poconos and Catskills, I would use some caution while driving tomorrow morning. It's going to get a little slick out there. Don't be surprised if you get some dusting on your cars and on the roadways. So definitely use some caution driving tomorrow. If you're in the Poconos and Catskills, maybe even parts of the Lehigh River Valley. Again, no major snow accumulation out of this. And most likely when you wake up in the morning, most of you will have anything that did fall melted away. But there will be some slick spots, so I just want you to be cautious of that. But this cold front is one of the last few from the polar jet stream that's really going to be impacting our weather pattern. I showed this on the premium membership, but I want to show you also as well here. This is our polar vortex. Now, what's happening, give you a little bit of background context, is that we're seeing some pretty rapid cooling of the stratosphere. This is at 50 millibars. We're falling back towards near normal. Here is 10 millibars. You can see this rapid cooling. Now what's happening is that we're getting more direct sunlight coming into the stratosphere. And there's been a huge buildup of ozone. Right? Oh, it's got to be one of these. Here we go. Okay, so we have this large buildup of ozone. And that buildup of ozone, when the sun rays hit it, causes the ozone to break up. And that leads to significant cooling. So that cooling is taking shape here, and that has led to the steady weakening of the polar vortex. This is normal for this time of year. As we get more direct sunlight on the northern hemisphere, the thermal gradient that is set up in the stratosphere and the upper troposphere essentially collapses and weakens. And so your winds that are moving because of the differences in the density in the stratosphere and the temperatures, those gradients weaken. So what you end up with is this. This is pretty cool. Here's the vortex, bless you, weakening and collapsing. So you can literally see it. It's not a stratospheric warming event. It's just simply because we're losing our gradient, the whole circulation degrades. So the best way to look at it is that you have a spinning top and you no longer allow for the spinning to continue. So it just kind of wobbles and weakens and then falls apart. Or if you're looking at a drain and you have your water going down the drain and it loses a lot of its density, the water density, and then the circulation basically collapses and the rest of the water just goes down to the drain. That's essentially what we have here. The drain is coming to an end, and our polar vortex is collapsing. What does this mean for the polar jet stream? Well, let's take a look at the polar jet stream. Here is our polar jet stream. Now, what's happening is that as our polar vortex weakens in the stratosphere and the upper troposphere, it starts to pull the polar jet stream northward. While that's happening, our thermal gradients at all levels of the atmosphere also begins to weaken. While it begins to weaken, we also see the shifting of our high latitude blocking influence. So, for example, a negative NAO in the spring is more likely to support backdoor cold fronts and slow-moving warm fronts than it would any type of major coastal storm or anything of that nature. So we're seeing a fundamental change in our weather pattern as a result. Meanwhile, we're seeing the changes in the tropical Pacific. We're starting to get more and more convection starting to develop right around the date line. It's weak, but it's starting to fester. And we're starting to see the MJO running into a wall here and basically get focused more and more towards phases 7, 8, and 1. Now, why is this important? Phases 7, 8, and 1 are more El Nino-like phases in the MJL. It supports more troughiness over the eastern United States. It supports a very progressive, active subtropical jet stream in the spring and summer. We won't touch on the winter just yet. We already got through one lackluster winter. Let's not go there just yet. But certainly in the spring and in the summer, it supports a very active pattern. And while that's happening, we're seeing fundamental changes in the SOI. We're seeing more and more negative values in the daily values. We're getting more negative in the monthly, but we're still considered to be neutral. And we're also trending in the seasonal values closer and closer towards a neutral state. So right now we're in this kind of fog in terms of lifting, right? We don't have any well-defined stratospheric influence. Our tropical influence is kind of muddled right now because we're kind of in this state of change. So what's happening is that the atmosphere is running off of an echo. And that echo says we have support for an active subtropical jet stream. And so that's what we see in our water vapor. Sometimes it's good to look at the observations and look at the water vapor satellite picture rather than get bogged down in a million different models. And what we see here is one branch of the subtropical jet stream, very active, cutting across the Gulf Coast. Another branch cutting into California, giving them more rain and snow, not like they need it, but in reality, they do need it because they've been through a drought. And then you have precipitation running across the plains and heading towards the mid-Atlantic. You have your polar jet stream displaced well to the north, introducing some polar air, but less and less so. This is a sign to me of a high threat for severe weather, especially in the plains and the Mississippi River Valley. It's a sign for above normal precipitation for the mid-Atlantic. And it's something that we're going to have to watch out for in terms of potential flooding. This sign here also would tell me that as we get towards June and July, if we continue to see this signature here, this would suggest there's going to be a lot of shear in the tropics, and at least on the Atlantic side. And that would mean that we'd have a below normal season. We still have some work to do on that, but that's what it would mean in that respect. But certainly an active weather pattern. Now, let me just refresh this and see if I have... And I don't yet. Oh, that's okay. So, right now, let's talk about Saturday. Now, what I want to bring up, if I can, is the... here we are. On Saturday afternoon, we have this jet streak here that we're going to have to keep an eye on. I'm seeing some signs of some weak vertical wind shear. I'm also seeing some support of instability in the atmosphere. Let me see, 700 millibar frontogenesis right here. So we have some lifting here. I think that we'll have the potential, especially with our 850 millibar temperature spiking like this in this warm area right here. Let's see if we can pull up a sounding here. You see this feature right here? What this tells me is that we have the potential here for some weak thunderstorms here. I don't see anything severe in nature with these thunderstorms, but I do like the idea, based on what I'm seeing here with the soundings, is slow-moving thunderstorms capable of some heavy downpours. Not for everyone, but someone's going to end up with 1.5 inches of rain out of this on Saturday. And the reason why is because what we're seeing here with these PWAP values. Now, on one hand, we have relative humidity around 56% from 300 to 850 millibars. Why is that important? Well, if we get a thunderstorm or a shower to develop and it's slow moving, it's going to be able to grow rapidly in this cooler, drier air. So we're going to have a pretty good cape setting up as we get the instability to lock in. I would watch out for the type of thunderstorm where most locations just get a passing shower, but one or two of these thunderstorms are really going to be hanging around, moving slowly, and could produce some localized flash flooding on Saturday. So it's something that we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on and watch as it evolves. Again, I don't see this as a widespread severe threat. It's just not the sounding for it. It doesn't have enough of the instability. The vertical wind shear really isn't there. You have some speed shear, but not really enough to be all that impressive. But something that's certainly to keep an eye on. If you're going out to a baseball game for Saturday for the Yankees game, that might be a little bit hit and miss. Okay, but it looks like Thursday, Friday looks fine for the Yankees game. Mets and Phillies, you guys both play away and then in areas where you can have an enclosed stadium. So you'll play no matter what. And let's see, I think the Phillies are facing DeGrom in Texas, which is ironic. And the Mets are playing Florida, Miami Marlins, who are always a pain. So could be a good start to the year. Of course, it's the first of many games, so that should be interesting. So that's what I have for tonight. I'm going to go over your questions and answer them all and do the best I can. And we start off first, of course, with Card, and we'll get to the YouTube chat in just a moment. I see that is active as ever. Holy smokes. Oh, wow. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's see here. So, first of all, notice looking at the SPC site in Earth New School that there seems to be a real temperature difference between the very cold air at 700 to 250 millibars and the much warmer air at the surface. Is that something which increases severe potential for Saturday, and will it be a concern overall for the spring and summer? This is normal in the spring because you have a lot of changes going on in the atmosphere at all levels of the atmosphere. And this is why in the upper portions of the atmosphere you get a far greater lapse rate setting up. And this is what starts to set up a lot of our severe weather, right, in the plains and in the mid-Mississippi River Valley. For our scenario, there isn't enough warming going on to really destabilize the atmosphere enough to support widespread severe weather. Of course, I'll be keeping an eye on it, but I also don't like the location of the jet streak. But one thing that you bring up an excellent point with the cooling stratosphere and the upper troposphere, if we see significant cooling taking place in the mid-latitudes, what that does is that it allows for your thunderstorms to grow higher and your updraft to get stronger because your parcel in the atmosphere is able to rise faster. So if we continue to see that in the spring and in the summer, we could see definitely more dynamic thunderstorms and more convection capable of producing very impressive downpours. And it's something we saw 2 years ago that led to some locations leading to flash flooding and 2-3 inches of rain, while other locations barely had anything. So it's certainly a very good observation and one that we definitely have to keep an eye on. How is the move going? It's going. We are, as you can probably see behind me, we're a little bit less with the pictures. They've gone now. They've gone to a better place, our new home. So we're definitely making progress. We'll be making more progress over the next couple of days. And
probably in the next 2 weeks, a lot of progress is going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of progress. And we'll probably see... by this summer, we'll be doing this chat in a new place, in a better studio. So there we go. You mean the uniparty bill to end free speech as we know? Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Let's see here. What makes the bill worse is that the government is the arbiter, the same government that just sent the IRS to intimidate journalists. Yeah, exactly. This is absolute insanity. Imagine this, our forefathers doing more than rolling in their graves. I agree, Snow. Look, guys, this isn't a left or right thing. This is an everybody thing. Yeah. We need to really step up on this. It's a modern equivalent of the Enabling Act. Yep. The EU has already been going down this road. Agreed. Private company can't do it if they are doing it on behalf of direct government or conditioned by government. Yep. I wonder if anyone has to put together a roster of people starting on the DL because of the idiotic WBC. Don't get me started on that. I already lost my closer. Here's the thing with the WBC. I think it's a great idea in theory. They should do it in November or December, or they could do it as, let's say, since it's a short series, you could do it immediately after the playoffs, something of that nature. Trying to make some business decisions for next winter. Are we looking at a west or east base El Nino, and how strong a week? I'll be honest with you, I don't know yet. That's a great question. I honestly don't know yet. And here's why. Let me pull this up here. Here we are. Okay, so we're going to scroll down to here. Now, what I look for when I'm looking at these anomalies here, let me see if I can zoom in, is that I want to see some area where I'll see cold water pooling. The reason why is this. El Niños develop because of the thermal gradient in the water, right? It leads to a pressure gradient, density gradient, which then supports the development of convection. And where that strongest gradient is, that's where we start to set up whether we have an east-based or west-based El Nino. And we could start to get an inkling of where that sets up based on what's happening in the subsurface. Only problem is that the subsurface is warm almost everywhere. It's near normal here, and it's above normal here, and it's above normal all here. So when I have this signal, it's basically muted. It's kind of still developing. When I start to get a stronger signal of below normal water somewhere around here, then I'll be able to gauge if we're dealing with an east-based or west-based El Nino and what the strength is. Model guidance has been ranging everywhere from a weak El Nino to a super El Nino. So basically, they're all in agreement of an El Nino, but that's pretty much it. Then it's pretty much all over the place based on the latest model guidance here. Let's scroll down. And here we are. Okay, this is of all the model guidance. A good majority of the CPC dynamic and stat guidance all has a weak El Nino to a moderate El Nino developing. And then our favorite CFS ranges everywhere from a weak El Nino to a super El Nino. So you can see we have a lot of data that we still need to work on here. But it is something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Let's see here. By the way, next Wednesday night is the first night of Passover. Indeed. I hope everyone has an excellent Passover. Easter's, is it just me or are all these holidays just kind of snuck up on us in March? I don't know. Maybe it's because we've been busy.
What day
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
time it is.
It's us. It's because we've had so much stuff going on. I didn't even realize Easter's coming up already. That's just crazy. Do you know what the current ground moisture state is given the expectation of an active wet pattern? Is it normal, below, or above? It's pretty much near normal. Nothing that is too extreme either way. Right now, we're not in the position of having any immediate flash flooding, but if we got those type of heavy downpours of 1 to 3 inches over a location, it'll start pushing us in that direction. I imagine the impact of the water vapor from the eruption is also a wild card on the actual pattern in El Nino state. Yeah, it's something I'm definitely keeping an eye on, that's for sure. As someone who gets to celebrate both Passover and Easter overlap a lot, makes Good Friday quite the challenge for food preparation. Oof, I bet. That must be tough. Let's take a look at what's going on YouTube. Let's see here. It's a bait and switch. Does this mean ring cams? Yeah, probably. You would be censored. Yeah, probably. Thank you for bringing this to light. Yeah, no problem. You're using these. They have no due process. Do you think the SPC will put up severe risks for central southern New Jersey? Do you think me going with a high of 70-75 is too warm for Saturday? How about sunshine? Whew, that's a loaded question. Okay, so first of all, so far there's no indication the SPC will go with increasing. The problem is that jet streak at 850 millibars is already pushing off the coast by the time we start getting to increase our instability. So you lose your wind shear. If the progression of the 850 millibar jet streak is a little bit slower, then that would increase your potential for vertical wind shear, and that would lead to a higher potential for severe weather. But thus far, as we are getting closer to the event and getting better and better data, we don't see any support for that. So far, nothing yet. As far as your highs for Saturday, if you're in the lower Delaware River Valley and we get any type of break or sunshines, which some of the NAM guidance is starting to show, but still a little bit too far out, then yeah, I could definitely see 70-75 popping up in there. Absolutely. Especially with 850 millibar temperatures around 8 degrees Celsius. Good evening from Cape May. Well, good evening, Mark. I used to go down to Cape May when I was a kid all the time. That was a lot of fun. Looks like Joe C. gang on tonight. Yep. Let's see here. Snow. No snow. Let's see here. A lot more rain on the radar ahead of the snow than earlier thought. A lot of that is Virgo. A lot of this that is marching its way through. This is probably more like a rain-sleet mix in here, given the 850 millibar temperatures. Let's zoom in on this. Yep, that's what I thought. It's probably more like a rain, snow, sleet mix in here. Let's see what the observations are showing. So here's why I bet it's actually happening. As the cold front's coming in, right, you're getting the higher elevations where your temperatures are around freezing, supporting the snow. But in your observations here, like around AVP, around Williamsport, in the valleys here, where a lot of these temperatures are being taken basically below 2,000 feet, that's where you have a lot of your warm air, and this is just going to be rain. So again, your highest elevations, that's where your real snow threat is. This is coming in a little bit faster than I thought it was going to. I mean, let's see, it's past 8:30, right? Yeah, it's 8:37, and this cold front is moving a little bit faster. So I'm still concerned about the highest elevations here in the Poconos and Catskills. Everyone else, when this comes through, it's going to be running into a ton of dry air at the mid-levels. So don't be surprised if a lot of this is just a few weak showers, and that is about it. Let's see. What's the best chance for South Jersey to see severe weather come Saturday evening? Saturday evening, none. The cold front will be off the coast by then. Let's see here. There's a lot of questions about South Jersey and severe weather. This is not it, guys. It's a strong thunderstorm here and there. Bless you. Nice. Yeah. Let's see here. Central Park set new record for least amount of snow for the winter season. Yeah, it was a very depressing winter. I agree with that. Let's see here. Maybe marginal risk for Saturday. I honestly, look, Izzy, I really don't see this as being a margin. It's a strong thunderstorm risk. I don't see this being a severe thunderstorm. I really, really don't. But, you know, I see you're mad because this world stinks and politics. Go Yankees, Rangers. I can't wait for playoff hockey. There's hockey? What's? Oh, I guess they're in the playoffs. Okay. There we go. Yankees are, I really like their phenom. What's it called? Their young guy that's coming up. Huh?
Dylan.
Oh yeah, that's right. He has the appendix. I hope you're feeling better, Dylan. Hope you're definitely feeling better. I would say get plenty of Jello. Jello's good,
Just
right? You have
careful
Jello.
moving. Be careful moving.
Yeah, don't move a lot. All right? Just stay in bed. No severe weather. No snow. Just eat plenty of Jello. Relax. Watch a good baseball game. Preferably the Mets. If you want to watch a good baseball game. And just relax. Thunderstorm in Connecticut. Catskills and Poconos up to a coating, possibly. Thunderstorm in Connecticut on Saturday. If you get one, it's going to be a weak one. It's going to be the type of one where you kind of hear rumble of thunder, maybe a flash of lightning, and that's about it. Have you considered weather forecasting for any major league team or even a site like FanDuel or such?
No.
I have not. If the Mets, if Steve Cohen came to me and said, Steven, I would love for you to forecast for the Mets. I need you to forecast for the Mets. I would consider it, provided that I get a free bat and maybe some baseballs in my own suite or something of that nature. But I haven't yet. I really haven't approached them, but we'll see. Let's see what's going on in the community chat here. Let's see. As someone who gets to celebrate both, okay, right. Is it a good guess that the usual areas around Philadelphia, urban heat island, are the spots to look for anything really popping on Saturday? I would say right around the southern Delaware River. If there's going to be something somewhere around here, from Trenton to Philadelphia, Southwest Jersey, somewhere in this corner right here, because right in this location here, you'll maximize your Cape values around 1,000 joules per kilogram. You'll have a little bit of speed shear, and you'll have precipitable water values around 1.2 inches. So right in here is where I could see, let's say around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you get some thunderstorms popping up, but they'll collapse as fast as they form. This is not something that will, that will be a sustained line, okay? This isn't a major severe weather event, but it certainly will feature some strong thunderstorms, kind of like what they featured last Saturday, where there was some pretty good light show, and it was pretty impressive. By the way, that reminds me, a lot of the cold air aloft that we were just talking about with the troposphere and stratosphere, when you have a cold upper troposphere and you have plenty of low-level moisture in the atmosphere, that tends to support thunderstorms that are very dynamic in terms of lightning potential and lightning production. They can produce some pretty vivid and impressive light shows, that is for sure, along with the impressive heavy downpours and downburst wind gusts. So it's certainly something that we're going to be keeping an eye on as we move on through the spring and into the summer. Yeah, Volpe, that's the guy. That guy looks good. Yankee fans should be very excited about that guy. He looks like a good, when he hits the ball, it really pops off the bat. So I think you guys got a good player there. That is for sure. Has a lot of potential. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt or, trips or something, something bad like that. But I'm sure that he's going to be a good player for you guys. And there is our Kofor marching in. It's a nice little trough there, too. Let's see what that is. Pretty warm air. It's an interesting dynamic here with the 50s in the Delaware River Valley. You've got your 40s cooling off here. This is a great example of an urban heat island. Look at this. Let's zoom on this. Temperatures are in the lower 50s here, right around the interstate. You get a little bit further away from the interstate, we're already down to the mid 40s. That's a nice little signature showing up there. That is pretty cool looking. Let's see. Where are dynamics for Saturday? Not really all that impressive. The jet streak's already off the coast as the cold front's approaching. Your Let's see here. Even your thermal gradient isn't all that impressive, 850 millibars in the afternoon. So you got your strongest jet streak already off the coast here. So your thunderstorms don't have the axis of either vertical wind shear or speed shear. And your strongest cold air transport is still well off to the west. It's just not a setup for severe thunderstorms. It's a setup for some embedded thunderstorms. But I don't see anything severe out of this at all. Let's see here. Okay, so the Rangers, is it Rangers and Devils in the playoffs? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do they still have the Whalers? I remember that. I remember they had a big mascot that was a whale. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I think they were in Connecticut or something. I don't know. Where are they? Hartford or something?
I was asking if anyone is a Devils fan. That would be me.
That's you, honey. You're a Devils fan. Go Devils!
Principal.
Are they in it? I don't
I
know.
have no idea.
I have no idea.
Anything.
Will an El Nino make the Western Pacific more active? And if so, could that lead to typhoons that recurve towards the Bering Sea? Great question. Depending on the orientation of this El Nino, yes, it could support more active hurricanes developing around the date line heading towards Japan. If it's featured more as a east-based El Nino, then you have a far more active season in the Eastern Pacific, and you end up with a ripping subtropical jet stream across the United States, leading to a lot of impressive rainfall events in California and mild Pacific air everywhere moving into the fall. And you know what that means for the winter then. If you have more of a west-based El Nino, then you get a higher threat for tropical cyclones in the central and western Pacific. You have a better potential for a trough around the Aleutians and a ridge on the west coast, an active subtropical jet stream cutting under that, and a higher potential for phasing events and active storm tracks over the eastern United States. So orientation and strength matters. So we have to keep an eye on that, and that's why it's so important. But in terms of planning for fall and winter, honestly, until we start to get better indications of how this El Nino will develop, I really can't. I mean, I'll just be blowing smoke up your butt. I really wouldn't know per se of exactly what that result will be. So I'd rather not mislead you and say, oh, it'll definitely be X, Y, or Z. Whalers are now the Carolina Hurricanes. That just sounds foreboding. The Carolina Hurricanes. That's just asking for trouble to me. That's just crazy. And I like the Whalers. They could have had a great thing with Carvel, and you had the whale cake. That'd be great. NHL made a mistake there. Flyers are long done. At least they finally fired that idiot of a GM. Well, whenever you're losing, the GM is always an idiot. I think we can all agree on that. Any 70 soon? Yes, in the Delaware River Valley. This weekend, in fact. I think we're going to see a lot of severe thunderstorms during the spring and summer. I think that, and Norman agrees with me, that if we get that cold stratosphere set up, and I think we are, and if we get the MJO to stay in phases 8 and 1, we are going to have a very active severe weather season. But that's what I need to have that set up.
I want our yard to get watered.
Do you see a warmer spring pattern for the spring? No, I don't. Typically, when an El Nino develops, what you end up with is a very volatile pattern. So you get bursts of above normal temperatures, but then they're immediately followed up by below normal temperatures. It's a very up and down roller coaster type weather pattern for the northern mid-Atlantic. If we continue to see signals of below normal heights around the Canadian Maritimes, Watch out for pesky backdoor cold fronts creating havoc with the forecast even 3 days out. They're going to be a real pain in the neck. And we're already starting to see that where your temperature forecast can range anywhere from 55 to 75 depending on the location of that frontal boundary. I think that's going to be a theme. The Harvard Whalers moved to Raleigh, North Carolina 20 years ago. The team is called the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, we need to correct that. That was an error. Because I want a team that has a whale and that can be marketed by Carvel.
It's right up there with the Miami Hurricanes. Why would you do that?
It's just paying. It's just asking for trouble.
antagonistic.
You know what would be really great for a hockey team would be called the Lakers. And then whenever the team that they're playing with starts to lose, their side of the ice starts to melt, and then they fall into the ice. That'd be awesome.
No.
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be. How about this?
It's not gonna work if you're
NHL, right, where you're skating around, right? But there are certain parts on the ice where there's like this pool of deep water, right? And then they randomly warm up. Yeah, they randomly warm up in different areas. And then when you're skating, you fall in and you fall into the pond, and then you get a penalty shot.
It's not,
And that player has to sit out for 5 minutes.
it's not how it works.
But that'd be cool.
The ice rink.
I'd watch it then. Hartford wasn't selling tickets because they weren't giving away free Carvel. See, I need to run the NHL. I better fix all these problems. I mean, think about that. You're skating around, you're going for it. All of a sudden, you fall right into the water.
You fall on your face as soon as you hit the water because
Exactly, and then like they have to get them out, but then the puck is flying down the ice, and the other team can go down and get it. But then they fall into another pond.
they wouldn't even fall in. Never mind.
It'd be great.
We're going skating one day.
Oh, the Devils are in second place. Oh, okay. Well, that's good, right? I don't know. Sounds good to me. I come up with great ideas. This is why I should run for office.
No.
Why not put the Sharks in water for added excitement? Hey, with lasers on their head.
Sharks with lasers.
Sharks with lasers. That'd be great. I think that'd be an awesome thing. 28 people are still watching this insanity. I thought I'd drive everyone away with the politics announcement at first. But I wanted to say that.
Reasonable.
Huh?
Well, you started on a tangent, but it was your reasons were.
It's concerning. Especially when you consider these guys are going to try to, look, no one needs to see me watching all my Godzilla movies, okay? All right? We all know that
My binging Bob's Burgers or.
right. I mean, look, I get it that the Congress has a lot of things that they want to do. I think it's very important that they watch Godzilla versus Biollante, but
They won't be able to figure out how to do that.
I don't trust people that ask me, that literally go on and ask people, what's the internets? How the hell did these people get elected? What's the internets? Am I on the internet now if I pick up my phone? Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how these people got elected. Left or right. All I know is that none of them would look, none of those people in any Congress, anywhere in Congress right now, could last 5 minutes with my family on Thanksgiving. None of them. They'd all get, I don't care what political affiliation, they would get wiped out the first course. And we have like 6 courses for Thanksgiving with my family. So you'd be done by the first course. You wouldn't even get it past the antipasta. You'd be done.
We're still recovering from the weekend.
And that was a wedding. Yeah. Wouldn't last a minute. Not even a minute. All right, guys. We made it to 8:55 p.m. Although it feels, this is another thing the government has screwed up. It's screwing up the clocks. I don't know what time it is anymore. I want my model guidance back.
I'm not even 100% what day it is anymore.
I don't know what year it is anymore. I give up.
I don't know.
Thank you again for being here with the live chat. It's been a blast, as always. Outstanding questions. I want to say we'll be back next week. There is a chance, I just want to put this out here, because there's a lot of stuff going on with the move. I mean, everyone pretty much knows. Yeah. There's a lot going on that I'm going to try to do live chats as much as possible while we're going through this process. But there might be a week or two where I'm going to have to suspend it because we're literally picking up and moving everything over. So that might happen.
You know, we might have to do one or two on the fly at the new house before the office is set up, too.
That's true. Yeah, we might do that. That'd be fun. That would be interesting. And just so you know, especially for the premium members out there, we have upgraded everything from the... we're going to have a generator, so that way when we lose power, we will still be live, ready to roll. We have upgraded the internet to the highest they possibly have. So no more lagging, no more issues with that. We will be able to upload videos faster. We'll have better internet protection. And we'll have more computing power that's on the way. More buff kit, more everything. So things are definitely going to be improving. A lot of changes. And also, the studio itself, we're going to have better mics. We're going to have more video content. We're going to have a drawing board. That'll be fun. And there's going to be a lot of stuff. And also a library behind me. Rather than a chair.
It's going to take a little time.
It's going to take a little time, but it's on the way. I have been drawing up schematics for a while and pulling up all sorts of furniture and whatnot. So it's going to be fun. So it's going to be interesting. So again, have a wonderful night. I will see you guys next week. And as always, stay safe out there.